Mary Walks by Night, a tale of psychological horror. The Johnson family looked like a typical American family. The father, John, was the CEO of a trucking company, a busy but dedicated man. The mother, Mary, was a vibrant and loving woman, always involved in the school activities of her children, Emma and Noah, aged 10 and 8 respectively. Their lives changed drastically after a terrible car accident. Mary, who used to be the beating heart of the house, was left paraplegic from the neck down. As the months passed, it became clear that John couldn't reconcile his demanding job with the intensive care Mary needed. After much searching, he found Lily, a young caregiver with an impeccable track record and an empathetic personality. She seemed the perfect person to help the family navigate this painful new chapter. Lily moved into the Johnsons' home, determined to do her best for Mary and bring some relief to the family. For the first few days, everything seemed peaceful. Mary spent most of her time in her room, lying in bed, while Lily was busy looking after her and keeping the house in order. Lily liked Mary's children and quickly became attached to them, and John seemed relieved to finally have someone he could trust. However, there was something about the house that Lily couldn't define, a persistent feeling of unease that refused to leave her alone. Lily's days followed an almost mechanical routine. She would start early, helping Mary with breakfast and administering her medication. During the day, Lily carried out physiotherapy exercises with Mary, albeit limited, and made sure she was comfortable. Mary spent most of her time in her room, watching television or looking out of the window. The pain and frustration were palpable in Mary's eyes, and Lily felt a deep desire to do more for her. Outside of caring for Mary directly, Lily also helped with the housework and looked after Emma and Noah. The children were a ray of sunshine in a house that often seemed shrouded in a cloud of sadness. Lily worked hard to create an atmosphere of normality for them, reading them stories before bed and helping with their homework. Despite the workload, Lily felt grateful to be able to help the family and, in a way, felt part of it. However, Lily couldn't avoid a growing feeling of unease. There was something about Mary's room, or perhaps the house itself, that made her uneasy. The shadows seemed to lengthen in a strange way, and sometimes Lily felt as if she was being watched. She tried to ignore these feelings, attributing them to tiredness and stress, but the persistent feeling that something was wrong never completely left her. It was on a silent night that Lily had her first disturbing vision. She was in the kitchen, cleaning up after dinner, when she saw a figure pass quickly down the corridor. Her heart almost stopped when she realized it was Mary. Mary was standing, walking with an empty expression. Lily ran to Mary's room, but found her lying on the bed, motionless, exactly where she had left her minutes before. Feeling confused and frightened, Lily tried to rationalize what she had seen, attributing it to extreme tiredness. The visions continued, always at night. Sometimes Lily would hear light footsteps upstairs, as if someone was walking down the corridor. At other times, she saw Mary's shadow passing the door to the children's room. Each time she went to investigate, she found Mary lying on her bed, apparently oblivious to what was going on. Lily began to question her own sanity, wondering if she was hallucinating or if there was something more sinister at play. Determined to find a logical explanation, Lily checked all the possible causes for the strange happenings. She checked the security cameras, looked for signs of a break-in, and even talked to the neighbors. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. However, the feeling of being watched and the visions of Mary walking around the house never ceased. Lily was on the verge of despair, not knowing whether to tell anyone or keep her fears to herself. One night, after yet another disturbing vision of Mary walking around the house, Lily decided that she couldn't keep her fears to herself any longer. She entered Mary's room, determined to confront her. "Mary, I need to know the truth," said Lily, her voice trembling. "I've seen you walking around the house at night. How is that possible?" Mary looked at Lily with eyes full of pain and confusion. "Lily, I can't walk. I never get out of this bed." Mary's frustration was palpable, and Lily felt a wave of guilt for questioning a woman who was already suffering so much. However, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that something was being kept from her. Determined to get answers, Lily began researching supernatural phenomena and stories of haunted houses, trying to find some explanation for what was happening. She even considered the possibility that she was dealing with some kind of evil spirit or entity. Lily's investigation led her to discover that the Johnson house had a dark past. Years before the family moved in, the house had belonged to another family who had suffered a tragedy. The wife of the previous owner had also been left paraplegic after an accident and, according to reports, was seen walking around the house before her mysterious death. Lily began to suspect that the woman's spirit might somehow be connected to Mary, using her as a vehicle to manifest her own anguish and despair. That night, events reached a terrifying climax. Lily woke up to a strange sound, a mixture of whispers and laughter, which seemed to be coming from Mary's room. Her heart pounding, she got out of bed and walked down the dark corridor. As she approached Mary's room, she saw the door ajar and a dim light flickering inside. When she opened the door, she saw Mary standing there, walking towards her with a vacant, distant look on her face. Lily felt panic take hold of her, but forced herself to remain calm. "Mary, stop! What's happening to you?" shouted Lily. Mary stopped walking and, with a look of deep sadness, whispered, "I'm not Mary." Before Lily could react, Mary collapsed to the ground, as if an invisible force had left her. Desperate, Lily ran to help, but felt an icy presence around her, a sense that she was being watched by something evil. It was then that she saw the figure of a woman, similar to Mary, but with a distorted and terrifying appearance, reflected in the bedroom mirror. Lily, determined to understand what was going on, remembered the stories she had read about the house's former inhabitant and her tragic death. She realized that the spirit was trapped, unable to move on due to its own pain and resentment. With her cell phone in hand, Lily started recording, thinking that maybe she could prove what was going on. Then she remembered something she had read about simple rituals to calm troubled spirits. She lit a candle and placed it in the center of the room, remembering that light can represent a path to peace. Then Lily spoke quietly, trying to reach any trace of humanity that might be in the spirit. "You've suffered a lot, I understand. But you need to leave Mary alone. You need to find your own way to the light. There's no more room for pain here." Lily then picked up a photo of the former resident that she had found during her investigations and placed it next to the candle. "You are not forgotten. Your story will be remembered. But now it's time to rest." She continued repeating words of peace and liberation, feeling a change in the air as she spoke. The figure in the mirror began to lose its shape, slowly fading until it disappeared completely. Lily felt the air in the room become lighter, as if an oppressive presence had finally gone. Mary, in Lily's arms, began to cry, as if she were releasing the accumulated pain. The next day, Mary woke up without remembering anything that had happened, but she seemed lighter, as if an enormous weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Lily never told her family all the details of what had really happened that night, but she knew that her spirit had finally found peace. The Johnsons' house could finally be a place of rest and recuperation. Buried secrets of the Thompson Mansion. In a secluded part of Louisiana, right in the heart of a dense and humid forest, stood the old mansion of Elijah Thompson, a man who died mysteriously decades ago. It was said that old Elijah was never a lucky man, but that the real misfortune began when he discovered an ancient chest buried in the backyard of his property. The house, now worn down by time and the stories that surrounded it, was the center of attention for a group of curious urbanites, led by Mike and Sarah, two amateur ghost hunters. They were determined to document the presence of the spirits that supposedly roamed the dusty corridors of the Thompson Mansion. On the first night, equipped with cameras and EVP recorders, Mike and Sarah captured fleeting shadows and whispering voices that seemed to beg for help. The atmosphere was heavy, filled with a sadness that seemed to permeate the walls. But the real plot twist came when, while investigating the house's library, they discovered a diary hidden in the false bottom of a drawer. The diary belonged to Elijah and detailed not only his daily life, but also his growing obsession with the chest he had found. As she read Elijah's trembling words, Sarah realized that the spirits were not just lost souls, but guardians of a terrible secret. Elijah had written about how the chest was cursed. It had belonged to an 18th century witch who had promised revenge on anyone who disturbed her eternal rest. Elijah, ignoring the warnings, opened the chest and freed the trapped spirits, who demanded a guardian for the cursed artifact. Convinced that they needed to reseal the chest to appease the spirits, Mike and Sarah followed the clues left in the diary to find and rebury the artifact. When the last shovel of earth covered the chest, the paranormal manifestations stopped immediately, as if a pressure had been removed from the air. As they left the Thompson mansion for the last time, Mike and Sarah knew that the story of the house was far from being simply about ghosts. It was a lesson in respect and the consequences of awakening what should remain dormant. The Guardians of Elsinore. In a small town near the muddy banks of the Mississippi River in Louisiana, there was a house known to all as the Lake Elsinore House. A 3-story Victorian structure with broken windows and a porch that creaked with every breath of wind. The house was reputed to be haunted ever since the tragic death of its last owner, old Howard Granville, a hermit who died under mysterious circumstances. No one in town dared go near the house, except for a group of curious and courageous friends, Jack, Clara, and Ethan. They decided to spend a night at Lake Elsinore House to unravel its mysteries and prove that the ghosts were nothing more than stories to scare children. Armed with flashlights and a camera, the trio entered the house at dusk. At first, all they found were dust-covered rooms and faded portraits of people watching them with gloomy expressions. But as the night wore on, unexplained noises began to echo through the corridors and a sense of despair took over. Deciding to explore the attic, the friends found a collection of old diaries and letters that revealed a story that had never been told. Howard Granville, far from being a simple hermit, was a keeper of hidden secrets. He had a pact with dark entities to protect the town in exchange for his solitude and eventual sacrifice. As the 3 friends read the revelations, a spectral shadow appeared, whispering words in a forgotten language. The ghost of Howard Granville manifested itself, not with hostility, but with a warning. The pact had been broken with his death, and without a new guardian, the entire city was in danger. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Jack, Clara, and Ethan decided to take on the role of guardians, each promising to protect the town and keep old Howard's secrets. The house, once a place of fear and rumors, became a sanctuary, and the ghosts of Elsinore, once feared, were now respected as protectors. The trio left the house at dawn, transformed not only by a night of terror, but by a new responsibility that would change their lives forever. Lake Elsinore House, once the scene of haunting stories, now had guardians to protect it, not just from intruders, but from ancient forgotten evils.